intro movie is only a minute long.
Nice.
I cut it down. Although I did a voiceover for a new voiceover for it where I call Sense a bunch of names. Go to
Well, I'm
silence.
amped.
Okay, you're coming in loud and clear,
Three,
but Mike is just
two,
barely readable.
one, go. The use of electronic cigarettes should be restricted to those of legal smoking age. We neither endorse nor desire you to use nicotine. The information and opinions voiced on this show are accurate to the best of our knowledge as of this date. Welcome to Vapelink. Hi guys, and welcome to Vapelink for 10/22/2012. I'm Kaz, that's Basil, and that's Mike. Before we get started, I want to say thank you to New Vapor for supporting us, ECF for supporting us, to VapeNet for restreaming us for to TVN for playing our replays, and to Vapor Trails for being a stream partner as well. And with that, Basil, let's turn it over to you. You got an empire, and you wanted to talk about it, did you not?
Yeah, we might as well. So we all have empires now. We're kind of
Yeah.
part of a very exclusive club of people who are very fortunate and have enough money to purchase one. It's like a combo platter. Like, not only do you have to have the opportunity, you gotta have the money. And having previously had the smoke tech telescope, it wishes it were made this nicely. So it's pretty much what I think the big appealing pieces here too, outside of performance and the ability to telescope and the locking button and the native 901 connection, which is just different. There's not a lot of mods that have a native 901 connection. Is that it is designed to be fairly customizable as well. In that the sleeve here, you can totally screw this off. So if I were to take this apart quickly, and you can purchase other sleeves, so the ladies out there, or the men who really like to accessorize, can go ahead and get themselves a replacement sleeve, as well as, I mean, the drip shields are always in stock, just about. I mean, you can always get fancy drip shields. The one that I have on here is a bit fancier. It's a hex style with the diamonds cut out. But this has got about 1,000,000 threads, and boom, it's off. So from here, if you had another sleeve to screw on, you could go ahead and do that. I mean, I think it's a great idea on a couple levels. People like
What?
things to look the
You
way
do
they
that?
want. They want things to, look fun and accessorize. And I think it's a great option. It's a good sales model, too, when you think about it. Because nobody in the vaping world ever has just one of something.
Yeah.
They have like a million of everything. You see people who have 5 GGTSs, 4 Pro Varies, 8 Genesis, whatever it might be. So it really allows some of those people who can't get multiple empires. It's hard to do to be able to do that. So overall, I mean, I'm really thrilled with this. I'm digging the native 901 connection. I don't have, I don't have anything else that uses a 901, and it's nice to be able to just grab a 901, slap it on here, and vape on it with the drip shield. I mean, it's a great fit and finish, and it just works really well. The
So,
fact
like,
that
you just got this. Now, had you used a drip shield on a 901 previously?
on a 901, yes, but I had to use an adapter as well. So just, I
Okay.
mean, not that that's a huge difference, but I think the look, it just doesn't look right. It's kind of like if you use the 801 Fusion cartomizers in a tank, it always looks goofy because the bottom of that is always sticking off. So almost no matter what you put it on, unless you happen to have something that has a recessed 801 connection,
Right.
which off the top of my head, I can't think of a single device that does. It just looks hokey to have the adapter. So here it is. I mean, standard. This is just the Empire Mods Bridgeless 901, which is a really nice, inexpensive atomizer. and it vapes really well. I mean, Keith is selling these now with the Holocron Lab shortstop, which I think is a brilliant move. Would love to see more vendors who are selling just straight up mechanical tube mods take
Right.
that extra step. It doesn't have to be the Holocron Lab shortstop. I mean, my preference would be for that because it is
Yeah.
reusable. But the 2 cents for safety fuse, or I think they've got a newer version of that as well. Just something to kind of take that extra step. So for me, complete package, totally worth it. This has kind of become my go-to sitting around the house dripping mod. I mean, I take the Darwin with me to work, and you know, I always have something with it, some sort of tank capacity. When I'm just sitting around, this has really become the thing that I find myself picking up the most. So
Right. And
you guys
you
have
know,
both had telescopes,
yes.
right?
Yeah, sure.
So what do you
And an
think?
Empire.
I mean, compared to the telescope, can you even compare it?
Uh, I the reason I like the telescope is the bottom button. The bottom button on the Empire is only one thing I like about it. And I mean, the other things I like about the Empire is its construction is flawless. I haven't seen any problems with it. Works fine with a kick the same way that the telescope does, but it's really a better mod. The other thing is that the 901 vaping experience, for people who have not vaped a 901 atomizer, you really, really ought to try it. You know, if you have the extra gelt to actually stray away from 510s or the cartomizers that you're using, a 901 is a great atomizer. It tastes anywhere from marginally better. It has marginally better taste than a 510 to phenomenally better taste, depending on the juice and the voltage that you're running through it. And I prefer the 3 ohm ones because of the larger coil in them. You know, so but the Empire is the complete package. It's the juice feed of the Shield. It's the quality of the way it's made, and it's the flexibility with batteries, and it's the kick compatibility. This has kick compatibility and multiple battery capability, but it doesn't have the build quality, and it doesn't use 901s natively, which is a plus or a minus depending on how you look at it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you've never tried a 901, I think you really just need to go out and pick one up. I think even if you're using it with an adapter, it's such a different vape that it's probably worth picking up. It just there's something about it. The flavor reproduction, I think, is just it's almost unparalleled. And I've tried just about everything. I hate the 801. I hate. Well, I don't hate the 306. I don't like the 306. And for me,
Neither do
it's
I.
510 or 901, or you know some sort of tank, maybe a Genesis. That's another one that just drastically changes the flavor of anything you put in it.
Yeah.
And I mean, for me, the only thing that I wish I had done or had the foresight to do, I didn't need a new 510 threaded HH357 at VaporCon, but I picked one up. I wish I would have had the foresight to know that I was buying an Empire and I would have gotten the 901 connected HH357. But you know, really, I can't complain about the performance of the Empire Mods Bridgeless 901. It's a nice pair.
So, what does Mike think about it? What do you think, Sense? What's your opinion?
Okay, so I guess, and I have to apologize to anybody if I look like, The Walking
Ah,
Dead.
you look gorgeous.
I
Yeah,
just
it
turned my
was my turn
saturation up
last
on my
week, so
camera
don't worry about it.
because I looked so pale. But I wish it was 510. I'm using it right now with an adapter to use my 510 atomizer. Outside of that, I love everything about it. I was using the 901 atomizer when I first got it, but then I got a 510 atomizer that I wanted to use, so I popped the adapter on it, and I've been dripping with it, which is something that I don't normally do. I've been enjoying dripping, but I do wish there was the option for the 510. I mean, you got to think about it. Like, so many people have tons and tons of 510 stuff. Why not make a 510 version? Well, I know why not to make a 510 version, because the person who made it vapes 901, right? And, he can't even make enough of them to supply the demand anyway. So,
Well, doesn't the drip shield system hold any value for you on a 901? Because the I mean, the drip shield is more of an ornament when you're dealing with like a 510, and it's more of a functional thing with a 901. Have you did you have that experience? That's been my experience, so I'm just wondering what you think.
You mean like where you can put a whole bunch of okay, because the 901 is leaky, right? Really, right?
Right.
You
Yeah,
can
no,
put
it
a
is.
bunch,
It is. That side intake is very leaky.
yeah. So you can drip a lot of drops into it, and then it leaks out, and it sort of like goes into the drip shield, and then as you vape, you're pulling it back into the Addy. Yeah, there's value to that, but I still want the option, right?
Yeah, I think for me, it just that was part of the appeal in getting an Empire. One, when I got there on Thursday night at VaporCon, I told Keith I wasn't going to buy one, knowing that the supply is always so limited. I didn't have a definite need to have one, so I wanted to make sure that someone who came to VaporCon just to buy an Empire got that chance, and I assumed that that was going to be the end of it. Now, he had more supply, I think, than anybody realized, so there were some laying around after the first couple hours doors were open. So I picked one up. And for me, I think that's been the most surprising appeal is that I forget how much I actually do like the 901. It's a nice, smooth, tasty vape, and it's just something different. I mean, everything else that I vape and have vape more or less outside of, a cardo tank or a rebuildable has been a 510. And just to have something to switch it up for me has definitely like confirmed just how much I should have tried to get an Empire a long time ago.
Yeah, I kind of ended up getting one by accident. Um, somebody, I had mentioned that I wanted one, so somebody bought it for me. Didn't buy it for me, bought it for me because I wasn't there, and then I paid them for it. Um, but I had mentioned that I wanted one, but I wasn't 100% positive. Like when I got there, I didn't know what was going to be there, like as far as like other mods. But I'll tell you what, as soon as I got it in my hand, I was so glad that I got it in my hand. I'm so glad that I bought it. I love it. It's actually it's my favorite mechanical mod that I've ever owned, and I've owned a good deal of them, and I generally buy them and sell them. Um, this is going to stay in my collection. It's not going anywhere. If you ever see this on the Classies, if you ever see it on the Classies, then there's something really went wrong in life.
If you ever see it on the Classies, I'll give you the money for whatever it is, and then give it back to you. But you're going to have to ship it to me first so I can use it. Now, one of the big
Yeah,
differences, though, is that Basil, there's a design update. They're putting that fuse in, but isn't the locking ring different on the bottom now?
I don't know. I guess this is the only one that I've ever really had hands on. Was the locking ring is smooth and it screws down to lock. You've had yours longer
yeah,
than
they gnarled
Sensor myself.
the base of the locking. They gnarled the
Oh,
base
sure.
because people would get them locked and then they would have hard time unlocking it because both pieces were smooth.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess that is a slight design change, and I hadn't even realized it. It just seems so natural for the actual button ring to be knurled here and the rest to be in smooth. Or, I mean, they could have done it the other way around as well. But, yeah, that makes lots of sense. Now, the one thing, so I think Sense had a good point in saying that, most mechanical mods have not lasted in his collection. One that I thought was going to last for a really long time, just in things that I had sitting around, was the Legacy by Pure Smoker, which I think is, in terms of mods you can go out and buy today that are mechanical, is one of the best, and it's priced, I think, a little bit high. I think we're starting to get to the point where just a mechanical tube mod at more than $50 is getting to be extreme when it comes to pricing. I mean, don't you think, really? If it doesn't the Empire has more appeal, I think, because it's really hard to get, which always is going to drive up demand, right, and pricing. But when you think about it in terms of this, outside of the native drip shield and the telescoping, it is just a tube that holds a battery. It's not a Pro Vari that has fancy high-end electronics. It's not a Buzz Pro. It's not a Darwin. It's not even a lava tube when it comes to that you can get under the price. So I think it's interesting that you said that, because mechanical mods at some point, I think there's not going to be much of a market for. Although
Um,
mechanical mods that have some other feature to them, telescoping, etc., I think are going to kind of stand the test of time better.
well, I mean, it depends on that. These days, I think it depends on whether it's kick compatible, which brings us to the other mod that I wanted to talk about, which is the Bombshell Stinger. And when we exhaust that, I'll talk about that real quickly. You're probably right. I mean, a lot of these. I forget what show I forget what show I was listening to. It was one of the other shows, and they were talking about the utility of a silver bullet. It was your interview, Basil, on VP Live. Uh, Russ was talking about the utility of of a silver bullet today, as opposed to the utility of the silver bullet like in summer 2010.
Right.
And at this point, it's kind of relegated to somewhat of a classic mod status. I mean, you can drop a kick into it, but really it's a basic mod. And what most people are going for are these $50, like you can get a $50 lava tube. But, well, you get the lava tubes cheaper now, I think. The original lava tube design. And,
Yep.
they're going with that sort of as a baseline. And then from there, you're moving up. But, I mean, there's still, I think, a market for big battery tube mods with kick compatibility.
Yeah, but I think for some people, and obviously someone like Evil Woman in the chat who said she much prefers mechanical mods over a variable voltage device, to have to buy, like, let's say it's a silver bullet at, what are they going for? $85, I think, is still the going rate for a silver bullet. And then having to, on top of that, turn around and spend another $40 or $50 to get a drop in to regulate power. I think that with the price of things like the lava tube, granted, you can get two, and you catch the right deal, you can almost get three lava tubes for the price of a silver bullet. It becomes really hard to justify a tube mod that's just a battery holder with a button. It doesn't have any other feature to it, like the silver bullet, at that price. Now, granted, the silver bullet is without a doubt a tank of a mod, and it takes a lot of use and abuse to render one unusable, and even then you can send it back and chat or repair it. But at that price point, I think the market is going to start passing up some of those mods, those mechanical mods that, they're a one-trick pony. 18650, press the button. I mean, I think that we're going to see that in the next 6 months to a year. Those designs are going to have to adapt, or they're going to become far less popular.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, my venerable triple V hasn't been used in a long time. Even with the kick, I don't use it. I don't know. I don't know particularly why. It just never gets grabbed. Fact
Is
of
that,
life.
and that's the unregulated triple V, correct?
Yeah, this is a 3.7 triple V that. Actually, this is one of the prototypes. I bought it off the store floor. It was the only 3.7 he had, and I really wanted a 3.7, and it was like the beginning of not this last summer, but the summer before. And it gave me good service for a long time. It was a great couch PV. Couldn't lose it in the couch. Great for the desk, that kind of thing. I used to run a truss fire in it. But things move on and they change. What do you think about this, Mike?
You know what? When we were at VaporCon and I saw the that French mod that was like $380, and I know you guys know that I was like thinking about buying it because I'm an idiot. And
yeah, you seemed conflicted, morally conflicted over whether or not it should come home with you.
Yeah, like I really wanted it because it was beautiful, but then like on the other hand, it's a button, man. It's a tube with a button on it at the bottom, like a whole bunch of other mods. I had just bought the Empire, so why? What would be the point in me paying that much money? What could they possibly have done to it to make it worth that amount of money as all mechanical mod when you can buy a Pro Vari for $160 or $170 with all those electronics in it, and it's gorgeous anyway? So what were they doing to their mod that made it worth that much? I think they were going to see the price of all mods drop. Even the Pro Vari type mods and variable voltage, variable wattage. I think everything's going to drop because I think China's copying everything. But I definitely think that mechanical mods are going to eventually go the way of the dodo.
Probably.
Yeah, I don't think that they don't serve any purpose, right? Like I think everyone should probably have. If you're going to become a vaping enthusiast like we all are, we wouldn't be sitting here
Yeah.
presenting a show, or you wouldn't be watching. I mean, you're clearly an enthusiast. I think it's probably a value to have one in your collection,
Could be.
right? You can't just live off ego batteries. Those, I guess you could, but it
But
probably is going to behoove you to have some sort of mechanical mod.
does the mechanical mod survive when you start talking about something that is kick ready? Like the triple V is not really kick ready. It's just sort of a little finicky to use a kick with it. It's not bad. It's just a little finicky. But you're talking about it. This is a 26650. It's the Hot Vapes Bombshell Stinger, and it's become my desk PV since VaporCon because the battery is so large, and I don't have to remember to, to charge it. And just for those who haven't seen something like this, it's the same head as a standard 18650 Bombshell. And if I take the head off of it, the ring below it is designed specifically to hold a kick. And then
Well, I mean, I think that's pretty cool.
if I take the ring
That's
off,
a really smart move, yeah.
yeah, if I take the ring off, okay, there's my battery, and there's my kick in the ring. So the question that comes to mind for me when we're talking about this thing is $80 bare. If you just buy the tube, but you just buy the unit, no battery, no charger, the whole thing, it's $80 bare. You add a kick to that, you're talking 45, $50 or whatever. At that point you're at $125. Is this a $125 mod? What do you guys think?
That one might be though. I mean, to have that battery with you. I mean, how long does that battery last you? 2 days, 3 days?
I'm on day 3. I mean, I don't pay attention to it. It's 3,500 mAh.
Yeah,
I
I mean that's
mean,
a pretty significant upgrade when you think of the average device that is going to run an 18490 with the kick, or you're extending it even an 18650. What's
Right,
the best 18650 in terms of milliamp hour capacity that you can go out and buy?
right.
2200 milliamp hours, and that's probably overrated.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
when you think about it, that may very well stand a better chance. And I'm not trying to dissuade anyone from going out and buying a Silver Bullet or buying a Bombshell or the Stinger or any of these. When you think about like the titanium mod from Electronic Sticks, it's expensive because it's machined in France, so there's a limited supply and it's made out of titanium. Not just anybody can run out and machine a titanium mod. There's some special requirements. I said to myself that I would only pay 200 and some dollars for an unregulated tube mod once, and I did that and I bought a GGTS. Now, that being said, I think the GGTS is on a different playing field than what is it, the Titanade or Titanium Monster, whatever it's called, because it has the collector tank and it telescopes and it has the locking button. I just think they're very different in terms of what they accomplish. Whereas the Titanium mod is very pretty and it holds a battery and has a button. The GGTS is a really versatile device. I mean, even if you don't want to use a kick in it.
Yeah, I mean, I owned a GGTS, and we don't have enough time to get into arguing about the GGTS. I think it's an overcomplicated, overpriced aluminum tube. Uh, I think that here's my definition of good engineering. Good engineering is when nothing more can be taken away. And I think something like the Empire falls into that realm. I think that the Provery sort of does. I think something like the Bombshell Stinger does. It's suited to do its singular job and doesn't do a whole lot of other stuff. And that's where I have the problem with the GGTS. And I can say that because I have owned one. It's not like I'm going to talk about something I'm not intimately involved with. But again, this gets down to preference. And we've talked about this before. You got to listen to multiple. If you're looking at reviewers to do purchases, talk to multiple reviewers or watch multiple reviewers, that kind of thing. Are you guys ready to move on to our next segment? We're at 8:54. at 8:54. Okay,
Yeah, let's do it.
real quick, and I apologize. Sense is lagging. We have a huge thunderstorm going on here in Chicago as we speak, and I'm trying to keep the thunder and the lightning and everything off of the microphone. With my luck, with the thunder and lightning going, we'll probably get the fire engines driving by. So this could turn into a whole lot of fun. And Mike's video is lagging a little bit, probably coming into Chicago. Basil coming in, I guess, from the west side because you'd be coming in from Minneapolis, and that leg is doing
Yeah,
okay.
like northwest.
Right,
We
right.
could, what we could do is I could hang up and you can call me back, and it might fix that issue.
Okay, let's do a minute and a half review transition, and we'll reset your video, okay? Here we go. Okay, Mike, that looks good. Well, we're going to come back, and there's been a big thing that has apparently happened, or I thought it was fairly big. ECF has instituted an anti-profiteering set of rules um, on their site, and it covers people overcharging for mods in the classified section. And we understand that this actually affects a lot of people. This affects you, Basil, doesn't it? You're a
Yeah,
classifieds guy.
I am. I'm a big proponent in buying used everything, but I am on the classifieds. You'll see me in there all day, every day. I just like to see what people are buying and selling, what's moving, who's got what that I want to maybe try or purchase and haven't been able to get my hands on. I am all over the classifieds.
Right, right. Mike, do you use them at all?
You know what? I used to. I bought a couple mods off of the classifieds once, and I really decided that I like stuff new. I like stuff new, untouched. I don't like getting something that, I don't like paying money for something and having it have little scratches on it and stuff like that. If I'm going to put a scratch on it, I want it to be a scratch. If there's going to be a scratch on it, I want it to be a scratch I put on it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's kind of where I stand with that, and so I don't benefit all that much from you know picking up some stuff that I want for a lesser price. I
Right.
wish I could. It's just I have that sort of collector's mentality where I like everything to be in pristine condition to the point where I sometimes buy two of certain mods because I want to make sure that I have one that's like unused and untouched and in perfect shape.
Right, right, right.
That's a little
So,
weird, I know, but
hey, man, you got to do it the way you do it, man. Yeah, I usually horse trade at meets with people, so I don't use the ECF classifieds, but I have used them in the past, and I am a verified member over there. Anyway, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring on Don from ECF. He's known as J0ker. He runs the classified section. So, Don, are you there? Welcome to Vapelink. Hello, Don. Don, are you there? Welcome to Vapelink.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now, Don. How are you?
Is that better?
That's a little bit better, although I'm echoing back a little bit, but I'm glad I can hear you. Welcome to the show. You know
Thank you,
Basil
sir.
and Sensefield, I think?
Yes, I've had dealings with both, I believe.
Dealings.
Good evening, sir.
Well,
how you doing?
dealings.
That was intentionally vague. I don't want to get into detail, you know.
Oh, okay. Okay. Something shady going on between the three of you guys? Okay.
No, I'm just joking.
Okay, fantastic. What I'm going to do here is I've just merged a couple of phone calls, and also Chuck, OldSoldier from ECF, is on the line as well. How are you today, Chuck? Are you there, Chuck? Don, are you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay. Well,
Can you hear me,
hopefully-
Mike?
I can hear you
Oh,
now,
there we
Chuck.
go.
How are you? So we have Chuck and
Doing
Don.
good.
That would be Old Soldier and Joker from ECF. Why don't you tell us the core of this policy, what it means, and why you chose to do things this way? So we'll start with the core of this policy.
For a
Who
long
would like to?
time now, there's been a lot of concern over some members buying up stock or bulk of certain items that generally go out of stock fairly quickly, and they turn around and come onto the classifieds and list them. Not necessarily immediately, but eventually they list them on the classifieds, and we've seen some of them selling for 50% higher than they are at their retail price. Uh, that's uh, that's been a concern of ours as well as several of the members, and it's been something that we've been trying to work on for probably close to a year off and on. Of course, the classified upgrade took a little bit of time out of that, but it's never left the table. We just had trouble coming up with a solution that we felt would work.
So can you describe the solution? I know our staff has read, or our team here has read the stuff that's there, but for the people there, can you describe it for them?
Basically, when someone posts an ad, they should not list the item for more than 10% of its retail value. So if something, retail cost is $200, the max that they should be able to ask on the classifieds is $220. That doesn't include shipping and PayPal fees. That's just for the actual item.
Okay, gotcha. And then there's a reporting function involved with this as well.
Correct. One of the problems we were facing when we were looking into this was being able to provide the manpower to check all these ads that members were reporting as being overpriced. Well, after some discussion and thought on the matter, we felt like it could be a shared responsibility between the member and the staff, whereas the member would do some of the legwork and provide us with the information we needed to verify that it was overpriced and then act accordingly. So us being we with us being a community, it's a community effort to keep things. Uh, I don't want to say legitimate, but reasonable, I guess, to keep people from overcharging or taking advantage of merchandise that goes out of stock fairly quickly.
Okay, fantastic. And so that I've got this outline now, there's a reporting form, and then what happens to the bad people? I mean, what? How does that all figure out?
Well, when you go to the form, what it asks for, of course, is the link to the thread that that the overpriced ad is located. It asks for the member's name that created the ad. Then we ask them to provide us a link showing where the retail cost is on a retail site so that we can do a comparison. Uh, Now, normally that's not the only place that we'll look, but that's a starting point. But it
Right.
also includes a place where if there's additional items that are listed in the ad that adds to the value of the item, that they add links and describe those as well.
Okay.
That way we can go and pull these things up and, add it up, compare the price, and, make a judgment call on the information that we're provided.
Gotcha. So, Chuck,
Oh,
did you
I'm
have any? Go ahead. Chuck, did you want to add anything to this?
Um, well, yeah. Like Don said, we've been working on this for a while, and there's a couple thoughts behind it. Part of the big thought is that we really shouldn't have to be the price police because in the end, if somebody wants to pay $500 for it, they're going to pay $500 for it. Is it overpriced to you at 500? Probably, but it wasn't overpriced to that person who was willing to pay 500. But the community seems to want it, and we're listening to the community. You also have to look at the other aspect of it. Don's been running the classifieds for a very long time now, and the spirit of the classifieds is not for profiteering. Okay, we don't want the classifieds to be a cottage industry.
Right, right. So, have you described it in full? I want to make sure that what you're doing is out there in full before I let it loose to the rest of our guys.
Can we really hammer home that this is only in effect for things that are currently in production? So if you had a mod that's no longer made, it wouldn't apply, correct?
That is correct. And also, I'd like to say that this is not something that's etched in stone. This is a starting point for us, and there will be changes, I'm sure. But it's a starting point. It's exactly that.
Right.
And in time, it'll get better. So we're going to go through growing pains with this, just as we do most anything that we do new. But
Right.
all we ask is for a little bit of patience and understanding, and give us time to work out all the bugs so that the system does work.
Okay. Go for it, guys.
So let me start with a tough question, and I think, and don't get me wrong, I like the direction that this is headed, but I think the two biggest complaints are going to be, one, that it's over moderated or over policed, and the other, maybe not complaint, but I think just kind of casual observation, is that is this going to be the thing? So we all know that there were a lot of people who were really bent out of shape when the new verification system was put in place. What was that? Just under a year ago, I think.
Back in
But is this just going to drive people? Yeah, is this going to drive people further away from the classifieds? So are we over policing, and are we now getting to the point where we're pushing people away? What do you guys think about that?
Well, I think if you look at it from either angle, I mean, if you're going in there to find a mod that you want and it's 100 times the price that it should be, that's going to drive you away. Or if you're being told what you can and can't post, that's going to drive you away. The main thing, like Chuck said, the classified is not meant to profit from. That's the whole platform of the classifieds. It's a way to liquidate unused items, and it's not meant to be used to gain. It's not meant to be to gain a profit off of the things that you're selling. So this new profiteering prevention is meant to go in line with the platform that we have in place now.
Sure. And before we go ahead, I think we've got a couple callers holding. I've just got one more, and I think this is a good question too that Cole brought up here. So, what about something like the GGTS if it was serial number 1, or just a week or so ago we saw, actually about 2 weeks ago I think it was now, one of the very first Genesis ever produced back in aluminum went for like $1,000. Is that considered rare enough? If it's something that's a one-off or still in production and has a really rare or desirable serial number to it?
Oh, of course. The rarity of an item is definitely going to be taken into account when we evaluate these reports. Something that's not made exactly like it was, or like it's made now differently than it was originally. I mean, that's rare. It's not produced that same way anymore. So, yes, something like that would not be considered profiteering. I guess in a sense, you could consider this like collector's items.
So what about if so like the GGTS is currently still produced, and people value the lower numbers more than they value higher numbers. So are we gonna think about things like is there a value to having a number etched on a PV, or is it is that it doesn't matter?
Well, if the device is made currently made the same exact way, I don't see how a number really matters that much. I mean, it didn't matter when you bought it, so why would it matter now? Now, the stuff that's no longer in production, that's a little bit different.
Smoky in here.
I don't know what that was. Something was smoky and where?
I don't know.
Who's complaining?
But
We have 12 phone
what?
calls.
I agree. I agree with that. People go a little nuts over the numbers, and it's just I feel like I've heard over and over from different people that you can no longer get a deal in the classifieds, and I think
And
that's
that
what the
was
classifieds are for.
and that
Right?
was one of our biggest concerns. I still remember a comment that just really struck me wrong, and it was just before we began evolving the classifieds into what it is now. The comment was that it was the Wild West of ECF, and that's something that's really stuck with me. And I don't like that visualization. I want it to be the tame part of ECF, if that makes any sense.
Now, to Basil's point, though, when you guys implemented the verification process, I was a little iffy about putting in my PayPal information and stuff like that, and I haven't posted anything on the Classies since then, and that's just actually I really haven't sold anything since then, so it doesn't even matter. But nonetheless, my thought was, all right, now there's less people to buy stuff. So, again, to Basil's point, does this mean that? Well, actually, I don't think that means that there's going to be less people to buy stuff. There might actually be more people looking in the Classies, right? Because now they know that they're not going to get ripped off. I mean, if you buy something, it's used. As soon as you open it up, it's used. Just like a car. When you drive it off of the showroom floor or whatever, the parking lot, the value automatically goes down. So I don't care what number you have on your electronic cigarette. I don't care, if you've scratched it, price goes down. If you've used it, price goes down. It should be a place where people can get stuff cheaper.
Well, let me state two things. First, I haven't seen a drop in classified activity. I did in the beginning, of course, because there was less people able to access. But since then, the traffic in the classifieds is, I would have to say, is back up to norm or higher. And the second thing I wanted to say is I caught a lot of flack for the verified member process. First of all, it wasn't just a staff decision. The verified member process was created by several of the members that were active in the classified as well as staff. So it was a joint effort between the members and the staff. And the second thing I wanted to mention, and I've actually posted this on the forum, is in the month of November, there was close to $2,000 in losses to members from fraud. Since then, there has only been one instance where someone tried to defraud the members, and with the information that I had with the verified member status or request, I was able to turn that around, and this person returned all those devices. So since the verified member process has been put into place, there's been absolutely no fraud reports at all. So in my book, and I know it's not a perfect system, but in my book, it's doing very well.
Yeah.
Well, that's encouraging. We do have some calls here. We had 4 on the line. We now have 3 currently on the line, and we're going to take you guys one at a time. So area code 662. Welcome to Vapelink. You're in the wire on the air, something like that. Say hello to these guys.
Hey, what's going on, Kazi? It's Jamie, Mike,
Hey.
and Basil. Good to see you folks.
J0ker, also just good to meet you guys. I know me and J0ker, we had some lengthy conversations over email about this last week. I definitely think it's a step in the right direction. Because if you take some recent instances like 310 Vapors put the Orion up here 2 or 3 weeks ago, I personally know a guy who bought 4 of them just to sell them for $350. And that's not right, because that was 4 Orions that could have been bought by somebody who really wanted the mod.
So you feel
and
so
that's just,
so you basically feel like this is a good thing, right, Jamie?
I don't think it's perfect, but I think it's a step in the right direction.
Well, yeah. Well, okay. Well, let stay on the line, and we'll roundtable this a little
Yep.
bit. Let me get area code
Yes, sir.
902. Area code 902. You're on Vapelink. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, doing well. Who is this?
It's Eva.
Hi, Eva. How are you? What do you have for these guys?
I don't do ECF, so I can't really say, because I don't do it because, well, when I first went on there first, I got sort of discouraged with how people were treated. So I would only go there when somebody sent me a link to something interesting. I would go and read it, and then I was gone. With the verification, I can't even do that. So most people send me just a link, and I go, and it says you don't have permission. So basically, I don't go to ECF ever. But this sort of stuff is happening not just in ECF. If you see Facebook, that's out of control too. The selling the mods for more money than they were ever worth to begin with.
Right.
Not even just over retail.
So aside
But
from the
yeah.
aside from the philosophical or I don't know, personal or functional issues that you have with ACF, do you think it's a good thing?
That they're policing themselves this way? Yeah, sure. I mean, but they're only policing the same people that are in there all the time. Is anybody going through this verification process?
I have.
Well, here's my
I
problem.
mean, I do
have-
lots of
I
trades on CF Day.
It's like a catch-22 for me. If you post something, what is it? You have to post like 5 or 10 or 15 posts in order to get verified or something like that. I don't even know what the process is because, I don't care enough to go through it. But my problem is if you post something, it seems like everybody jumps on top of you. That was my experience in the beginning. That's why I didn't take to ECF. So now they want me to jump in there and make posts so I can get jumped on, so I can get verified to get into something I'm not even sure I want to get into in the first place. So I
Right.
can't even look at the classifieds. So that's what stops me from even finding out what the verification process is, because to me it's not really worth it.
Well, there's a lot of people that don't find ECF to their liking. Obviously,
But we can't even find out if we do like it because we can't get verified to see anything. That's the catch-22, right?
The verification is only for classified, not the whole forum.
So how many posts? Well, I just brought this thing up. It says 0 to 5 posts, 5 to 15 posts.
Yeah, that's
50.
5 posts to get out of the new members area. That's an anti-spam measure that we have in place.
So we're looking at 20 posts. I got to post 20 posts elsewhere on ECF?
Correct. 20 to become verified, but keep in mind verification is only necessary for the classified section, which also includes the co-op area. It doesn't include the
How
entire
does that really
forum.
verify
It's
me
just,
if I just go and post 20 random thoughts on
Well, I think
Well,
I think the attempt is to make sure that you're not someone who's coming in just hitting your 5 posts really quick, which you can do in 30 seconds, and then going straight to scam someone in the classified section.
exactly.
I mean, that's really
exactly.
the intent.
Exactly. And it's not to imply that you are a spammer, but you have to understand that spammers do that. So it's a measure to prevent that.
Well, let's see. I've been on there since 2010. How do I find out how many posts I've ever made?
You want to contact me via email, and I can help you with that?
Like, I can't even tell how many I've had so far. Is there somewhere that tells me that?
Looking
Yeah, if
at
you
I'm
click
not
on your
sure.
profile.
Yeah, it's in your profile. I think Don is saying that he'll extend a helping hand to you, and maybe help you through the process somehow if you'd like to do that. Don, did you want to give your email address, or do you want me to give it to her?
I could give it.
Okay, go ahead.
It's J0KER at ecigaretteforum.com.
All right, that's fantastic. Did you get that, Eva?
Sure.
Okay. Stay on the line if you like. We got another caller here in the waiting area, code 716. You haven't been able to get in here. Have your way with these guys.
Hey guys, how you doing? This was a great show, by the way. Thanks for doing it. Love it. It's awesome. I just want to thank J0ker for all his hard work he does in the forum. I know he doesn't get paid. Doing an awesome job. Thank you. I got a couple things I actually want to bring up. I got to have a couple, worries about this whole system a little bit. And the main thing is, I'm personally worried that this may cause less people to put stuff up, and I won't be able to get the stuff that I want as readily because of these restrictions. If there's something I really want, I'm going to pay for it. And I'm not saying that that's a perfect system that they have going on there. There's definitely people that gouge people, take their money, just try to make a quick buck. I'm totally against that. But at the same time, I don't want less of these things available. What do you guys think? J0ker, what do you think? Do you think that's going to make that go away, or do you think it's still going to remain as, a healthy ecosystem that it is now?
Well, I understand your point. I do. And I would probably feel the same way as you. If it was something I really wanted, I would probably be willing to pay more than retail. But we have to also keep in mind what I mentioned earlier about the platform of the classifieds. It's a non-profit platform. And that means even if I'm willing to pay more for something. And that's the whole purpose of this new anti-profiteering process.
So if I understand this correctly, you guys are looking at the classified section not as a commercial entity, but as a community resource.
Exactly.
And so high-end profiteering has no place there. There's the alternative view, of course, guys, that it's sort of putting your thumb on the market. That sort of thing.
Yeah, the supply and demand. Supply and demand, it's like a natural system we use in our country, basically. But, taking that away is fine if you're looking at it as a community resource, because you want people to get the things that they want at a fair price, and I can see it from that perspective. Another question I had, though, that I wanted to ask you guys was that, someone who just bought something, say, last week, say you bought a Yeti Pro for $250. Now, in that situation, if you wanted to resell it, you can now you can no longer sell it for what you paid for it. Is there going to be some sort of stipulation put in for that kind of situation?
Well, as long as the price is not more than 10% over the retail cost, it's fine. So,
well, I think what he's talking about is stuff that was purchased in the past, right? That was purchased for way over what it retails for. Now, if that person wants to go and resell it again, they can't get their money back. So, for instance, I bought a hybrid mini a couple years ago, probably 2 years ago, off of the forums, and I think I paid $260 for it. And then I resold it for $260 to get my money back, probably a year after I bought it. So, if somebody bought a Z-Addy Pro, say 2 months ago for $250, and I don't know what the retail on that is, but I assume that's pretty high. But if they bought it for $250 2 months ago, now can they sell it for $250 again? You guys do have the record of the past sale, so is that something that would come into play?
Okay, so you're saying if a year later the retail values dropped by 50%, and somebody reports you as selling it at what you paid retail, would that be allowed?
Or even just someone who's overpaid. So I have a GGTS. I sold it to you for $350. Now that wouldn't jive with the policy. I turn around and post it even for $325, which is still above the 10%. Is that going to get me in trouble?
Well, if you bought it used, then there probably won't be a way out of that. But if you bought it new at a higher rate than it's currently sold retail, then I hadn't really considered about that aspect. But if I generally, when I find one, and like I said, this is brand new, but my thought is once I find it, I'm going to hide the thread and contact the member and find out why they're asking so much. Now, if they're able to show me, hey, this is what I paid for it, and they can show me that, then, and most of us keep record of that. It's usually an email or something like that. Then, yeah, that would be allowed.
Can I chime in just for a second? I think we're kind of to some degree getting off the purpose, because the purpose of this was not necessarily to stop the average guy from trying to get his money back. It was to stop the practice of going out and buying a bunch of things just to go and price gouge. There are people who are known to be price gougers.
What would actually stop it? If people refuse to pay the crazy prices that people are selling them for, people just refuse to do that.
There's also another side to this coin. There are several people who, and I'm in the classifieds all day, every day. I buy and sell something every day. There are people from other forums who are actually vendors on other forums who come and sell their products on ECF as a user and price gouge on their own products. At the end of the day, this is just a tool for me as a user to some degree be able to police it myself, because it's not necessarily. It really just adds a tool and a way for us to report it and report somebody who is blatantly price gouging, and then it's up to J0ker and OldSoldier and all those guys to decide if it is price gouging or if it's not. It keeps the vendors from trying to gouge on their own products. It puts a halt to the process of people going out with the only intentions of trying to abuse somebody wanting something by taking items out of the market that they didn't have.
We hear what you're saying. We hear what you're saying, Jamie. The point that Eva's making is that is it better to rely on the market to sort that out? I mean, do we have situations, Don or Chuck, where people have been ripped off because they had imperfect information in the marketplace and purchased something very expensive? Because at the same time, there's a whole bit about caveat emptor, and I understand that you're trying to leave this community based, but even the market can function within a community. So I'm wondering if you have thoughts on that.
Well, this is where you can see we work as a team on ECF. We bounce all these ideas around. Okay, I'm the forum manager, and I earlier stated that there will be no comments on pricing because I believe in the free market, and that if you're stupid enough to pay $1,000 for an $80 mod, then you deserve a Darwin Award.
By the way, if you know any of those customers, let me know.
I'm not one of them.
But we also have the issue of, I'm not going to name names, but there were several high-profile members who are no longer on ECF that did that with certain mods, and that's all they did. They turned it into a cottage industry. And rather than, fess up and say, hey, I want to start an e-cig business, they're like trying to take over the classifieds and turn that into their own business. Okay, that's all good and fine, but you know what? If you want to run an e-cig business, get yourself a server, get yourself a cart, get yourself a website. And
so is that all you're trying to limit? Because here's my concern. Okay, I have this is going to sound ridiculous, but it's true. This is a prototype triple V, which I showed earlier in the show, and maybe you can see it because you're watching, and maybe you can't. It's essentially a big aluminum silver bullet. I was recently offered $200 for it because it's a prototype and it's part of vaping history. The retail on this was about $80. I know people are laughing, but it's true.
Prototype.
Okay.
It's a prototype, not a production
right there,
product.
Mike. It's a prototype. So
right. So if I put this out there and somebody offers me $200 or my bottom bid is $200, I'm not going to be affected. But if somebody puts an in-production GTTS up at $50 more than what could be purchased retail, that's not allowed.
Wait, GTs are actually in production?
Well, I'm using that as an example. Okay? I know, that's funny. Okay, if somebody took a bombshell, which you can buy for $80, and put it up and sold it for $100 because it was out of stock that week, you wouldn't allow that because that's over, what, 10%?
Correct.
Okay. I like the simple one-word answers. So we've got 3 callers here. So just to get a sense of this, Jamie, are you for this or against it?
I'm for it. I personally have been very vocal about price gouging. I do think the
Okay.
10% is just a tad low. I think the 20% ceiling would be better, but
Okay.
I think it's definitely a step in the right direction.
And
You have
Eva?
members like me and Nate and several others who a guy just a little while ago posted a penalty for too high. I sent him
Right.
a message, gave him a heads up about the rule. He dropped it down to 150. He just didn't get it, and he understood. So,
Okay.
we're kind of policing it ourselves now. So it's definitely
So
a step in the right direction.
let me move on, Jamie. Eva, what are your thoughts on it? Do you think it's good or not?
I think they'll probably. I don't think it'll work. I think they'll probably just find another place to do it as long as there's a person with more money than brains. They're going to buy a GG for like $600. It's just going to happen.
I'd like
Let
to
them do
respond to
it
that.
somewhere else, right?
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Right?
go
Let
ahead.
them
Yeah,
let them
that's
do it somewhere else.
that's the ECF response. If you're going to do it someplace else.
Okay.
There are other
go.
places. There's
And they
Facebook
will.
and
That's
whatnot,
the thing.
and they will, and that's not our problem anymore.
Got it. Okay.
I,
And
I
area.
think that the
Go ahead.
main thing is that I've heard it over and over and over again that people get on these lists, right, for these special mods or these special atomizers that they make in runs of 100 or 200, and we haven't touched this yet. But they get on. I've seen it. Like even with the Silver Dog, which is the latest hot thing to come out of Vaporwall. I didn't get on the first run of that because people were buying 2, 3, 4 of them, and like I don't know why anybody would ever need 4, right? You're obviously going to turn
And get
around
the
and
selling
resell
gouge.
those. I understand 2, maybe you want one as a backup, but 3 or 4, they're obviously selling them. They figure that they're going to be able to get a decent amount of money for them on the forums, and I've seen the deliveries of these mods that are on these lists because I was on the list and I got the delivery. Everybody else got the delivery, and I've gone onto the forums and I've seen lists of brand new stuff that I just got the day before that people also got the day before, and they were selling them on the forums for ridiculous amounts of money. And I was just like,
And they were
wow.
just
I was like,
spinning the
person
herd.
tried.
Now, I didn't mention this earlier.
Okay,
I
no.
meant to. On that form for profiteering reports, there's also a section for someone who is buying co-op in bulk and trying to resell on the classified as well. So that's also a part of that report, along with the profiteering. So
Yeah.
we're making attempts to curtail that as well.
So in other words, you want the classified section on ECF to be vapor to vapor.
Exactly.
Okay, so how about someone like me? I review mods and sometimes I beta test them, and I end up with a lot of weird stuff like prototypes and things like that. Are we okay to dump mods there? I mean, we're not gonna
Right.
I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
but didn't you get
I'm
that
act-
stuff free?
I'm actually in the process of going and removing your verification, so you won't be able to do it no more.
Okay, that's cool then. Thanks for letting me know ahead of time. Eva, you had a comment. Eva.
Well, yeah. Didn't you
I'll-
get those stuff for free?
No, I don't really accept stuff for free.
Okay. Because that would fall into my, don't be a dick rule. If you get something for free, don't turn around and sell it.
Yeah,
Language.
what usually happens, and every reviewer runs it differently, but I'll just tell you how I do it. I tend to buy, or a vendor has approached me to test something. And if I've tested it and given them their feedback, I usually send the mod back to them. Sometimes for the time that I put in for testing, I get to keep the mod. I haven't had one of those in a while. The iMotions that I tested did cost me money. I did pay for my bombshell, and I can't think of anything that I've posted that I haven't actually paid for other than loans. So I just want to make that clear where I'm concerned.
Yeah, I've never actually sold anything, I don't think. I've traded stuff, but I've never.
Yeah, I trade stuff personally. I go to vape meets and trade. I traded one of those iMotions for 2 telescopes, and everybody thinks I'm an idiot for that. But
Balloon test them. So a question came in from VapeNet too. If there's a co-op that's going on, and somebody says they want 6 mods, in reality, 1 is for him, and 5 are for his buddies that maybe they don't do forums, maybe they're going to be gifts to new vapors. Sometimes it's not high end or specialty stuff. It's just good prices on things, right? Are they going to be flagged? My guess is that they're not, because I don't think we're extending this into the co-op world in ECF, which is kind of a different avenue, right?
Well, if you're referring to limiting how many people can buy, no, because there's just no way to confirm what they're using it for. You just have to take people at their word. Now, if they buy 5 and they turn around and put 4 on the classifieds, then yeah, they would be flagged. Or I would hope that they would be flagged. Maybe I should say.
Well, only if it's more than a 10% markup. So if they bought, 5 did
correct.
For $20,
If they
sold
sold it for what they paid for it,
that's fine.
Yeah, if they post it in the classifieds for the price that they paid, no more than 10%, then yeah, that would be okay. Because say somebody buys 5 of them and the 4 people that they bought for decided they don't want them, who are we to say that they can't offload those?
It's just keeping them from taking $5 $20 bids and making them $60 bids because nobody wanted, or somebody wasn't able to sit on the list for a month.
Yeah.
It just slows the profiteering down.
All right.
Okay.
I mean,
so
I think that. Oh, go ahead.
No, Mike, you're the man. Go.
I mean, I think that this is all well needed in this community, especially on ECF because it's so big, and I mean, you can sell stuff so quickly there, and I just don't think that people should be making massive profits off of these PVs. I would like a GGTS, right? Because Basil loves his. And I will not pay a ridiculous amount of money for a used one. I just wouldn't. And every time I see them up, they're just such ridiculous prices. So I don't know. I mean, there's somebody in the forums talking, or somebody in the chat talking about for trade. So how does this affect stuff being put up for trade? And I know, Jamie, you just put something up for trade, the Sidewinder.
Yeah.
So was that a fair trade?
For it. It was just, try, and I pretty well traded a rare mod for another rare mod that was pretty well retail on retail.
Yeah.
I don't think it will affect trades at all.
Right. Well, here's my quandary with it. I'm okay with this program, assuming that the ECF guys are liberal enough with it, so that guys that have something special, 1 of a kind, 3 of a kind, 2 of a kind, something like that, there's that room for them to strike a little gold. And if that follows, I'm happy with it. I also have to point out my bias here because I do have one, and the other 2 guys on our panel don't. I spent over a year as an ECF mod and actually worked with Don and for Chuck for a period of time. So knowing what goes on in the back of ECF and all of the problems that they have to deal with on a daily basis, my opinion is informed by that. So just want to put that out there before somebody mentions it and throws a pitchfork at me.
I think in the end, I mean, my stance is really that the free market isn't always right, but it always corrects. Meaning that, the price on something may be artificially high for various reasons, but in the end, the market's always going to correct itself. And because of that, I really hope that this sparks a trend in people not trying to profit from buying 3 of something that's already hard to get and turning around and selling it. But my fear, and I know that this isn't your concern as moderators of ECF, but my fear is that all this does is it pushes that traffic off ECF and it's going to find a new home somewhere else. And I think we all kind of know that that's the reality of it. But I completely understand your point that while that may be the reality, we don't want to have to deal with it or be known for that.
Yeah.
Well, and also the other forums just are not big enough to maybe I guess there's not enough traffic or enough people in some of the other forums to really say, okay, I want $400 for this mod, and are there the people there who actually would pay that?
Well, that's not necessarily true though, because like over at New Vapor, almost everybody there is an advanced vapor. There's very few newbies compared to the people who know what they're doing. Am I correct in this, Basil? I'm there sometimes.
In the
But I'm
classifieds?
talking.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you would have a better chance
Yeah.
of moving something that was a high-end item over there for an
Absolutely,
inflated
because
price.
generally there's demand for it. You're not going to sell a lava tube for twice what it is because anybody can
Right.
turn around and get them at a reasonable cost.
Right.
So
But
just
I'm
because
just
of that, it
talking-
does tend to be more the experienced people that are getting in there and even know that it exists in the first place.
But I'm just talking about, in general, the amount of people that are on ECF. I find it sometimes even hard to follow some of the threads, that I subscribe to, because there's like all of a sudden a day goes by and there's 200 new posts in that thread. But I'm just saying that there's a lot of people there with a lot of money in their pockets in order to pay these large amounts of money for these mods. So I think that it's more of a problem for ECF than it would be for other forums.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. Well, final words from the callers. We have obviously a mixed community reaction to this. Do you guys on the line here have anything else that you want to add before we start wrapping up?
Well,
I
it
just
was
wanted to-
tried.
Not all at once. How about we go with
Ladies
Eva
first.
Yes, Eva
Go.
first.
Okay.
Ladies first.
It's a nice idea, but pretty sure it's just going to push them off into another forum. But
Do you
nice
think,
try.
Eva? Do you think that that creates a safer environment for people who are ECF users? Does it help their community by pushing that trade somewhere else?
My problem is I'm not an ECF user, so I can say if I would be more safe or not.
Okay,
So
well,
I've never seen the classified. So.
okay. Well, I go everywhere in the community, so I hope you check out ECF because it's a different flavor than the stuff that's out there. Eva, thank you very much for your call tonight. I'm going to move on to someone else, and then I'm going to end the call with the three of you at the same time.
Nice.
Jamie?
Yeah, I'll try to be quick, and I'm not known for that. But I think it's a step in the right
we'll reel
direction.
you in, bro. No
I-
problem. We'll reel you in. Go for it.
What? Okay. I think it's a step in the right direction. I do, even being vocal against price gouging, I think the 10% is a little low. I think 20% would be a little better ceiling. And I don't think it's going to drive people elsewhere. I've done sales and trades that literally from post to close was less than a minute. The activity's there, the people's there. I don't see in any way it'll slow it down. So I say 2 thumbs up to ECF for doing it. Again, it's not perfect, but it is a step in the right direction.
All right, and then we'll move to area code 716. Sir.
Yes, absolutely. I 100% agree with the decision to do this because, first and foremost, I am a vapor, and I believe that everybody should have the capability to get the things that they want to use because that's going to keep them from smoking. And I think this is definitely going to help moving us in the right direction to get them to be able to do so. Maybe some people will leave, maybe they won't, I don't know, but as far as I'm concerned, let them. Earlier, I was just playing the devil's advocate because in any system, I guess you want to test it out and, make it better. But I think this is great, and I think you're doing a great job.
Okay, cool. Okay, guys, thank you very much for calling in. We're going to end the call-in segment at this time because we haven't gotten any additional calls. And I'm going to leave it to Don and Chuck. We'll go Don first. Do you have anything you'd like to ask us?
Let me get my little sheet of paper out here. No, just kidding. No, I really don't. I appreciate the time to explain our thought behind this new process.
Sure.
And I hope everyone, will at least be patient while we hone out the details and try to clean it up and make it a good working system in time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's an important kind of parting thought is that this isn't accepted to be ECF law as of yet. It's kind of still a dry run, yeah?
Correct. Correct. It's basically the starting point, as we've said all along. It's somewhere for us to start and work towards a finished product.
Got it. Got it. Mike, do you have anything that you'd like to say to Don?
Uh, Actually, I think I've said everything that I had
Okay.
in mind. I'm happy. I'm happy with it.
Okay. Okay.
So
And Chuck, you want to wrap up there?
Okay, well, like Don said, it's just a starting point. We could raise the ceiling to 20% or even 25. What people have to realize is when Smokey Joe founded ECF, he had a particular vision for it, and the people that go and abuse, the classifieds in order to make an obscene profit actually don't really fit into that vision of what Smokey Joe wants ECF to be. And in the end, as a large forum, we kind of do have a responsibility to our users to protect them as much as we can. Don has spent endless hours having to deal with classified fraud. That's why we brought out the classified verification system. And now one of our biggest headaches is dealing with the complaints of price gouging. It turns into little flame wars and fights between different people, and it even comes into whole groups of people. Let's just say, no, I'm not going to go there. Anybody that's on ECF knows that there was the tank wars and other things like that. But we're trying to accommodate the community, look to protect them, and also try to lessen our workload for stuff that's really silly. We could have just stuck with my original call, which was, we're not going to be the price police, end of story. But there's such an outrage about the whole profiteering thing that we said, okay, we'll give this a try and see where it goes. If it works well, we'll definitely keep it. We're going to adjust it, work with it, and work with it until Don says, hey, this is working, or hey, this isn't working, and then we'll go from there.
Excellent. Basil, anything else?
No, I mean, I'm just really torn. I love the idea. I think people in the end are going to find the market that's going to get them the price that they think is right, and it's just going to shift the problem elsewhere. But at the same time, I hope that it inspires a few people to share the wealth with the high end, hard to get stuff, and not go out and buy 8 of them to resell. So, I mean, I really hope that in the end, it does inspire a bit of a change across the board.
Yeah, I think in closing, I say because the market is growing so big, and because mods have become so diverse and expensive and interesting, and because we as vapors put such a high value on them, I mean, you could pry this from my cold, dead hands kind of thing. I think these kinds of issues come up, and I think there's going to be more experimentation. Uh, I think it's going to be more experimentation on your part, guys. I don't know if this is a stopping point, and I agree with you. It's going to be an evolution. So, with that, I think we're going to wrap the show, guys. What do you think? We're an hour and 45, hour 15 in.
I think so.
Let's do
I
a
think
short
so.
one for a change. Chuck, thank you very much for coming on. Don, thank you very much for coming on. And would love to have you on again for other reasons that may or may not come up. And I'll be in touch with you guys soon, and so will the rest of the crew. So for everybody here, we'll wish you a good evening. So take care, guys.
Thank you.
thanks.
Good night.
Well, that was an exceptionally satisfying conversation for me. We got to dig into an issue and rip it apart. Closing thoughts before we say goodbye.
I love my empire.
And I love your empire too. Mike, you're not feeling well. You did a great job. You want to talk about that tonight? You want to extend? I'm all set up for it.
If you want to, well, I was going to put it on the Classies. I'm kidding.
For $4,200.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm not doing that.
Do you want to be a short? You want to do a shorty on this? I have your chart set up.
We could do it real quick Because I
Okay,
told
Let's
people
let's save it. Let's do a short one. He's not feeling well. I know he's amped to do it, but let's keep a little something in the bag, a little mystery.
keep a little something in the bag. Okay. Well, here's what's in the bag, and we'll have next week. We have the. This is terrible because I tweeted this, and so now the listeners aren't going to get it. That's okay. We're going to have the Lava Tube 2.0, which Mike is currently vaping and showing off. Like I've got one and you don't. Ha 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 ha. Yeah. All right. Well,
Oh,
I'm
but
gonna.
I'll tell you what, everybody is going to be happy with this thing. There's so many people that have been waiting for it, and the thing is that it had to be completely retuned and reprogrammed, and I just want to say we're not going to get into it, but kudos to Volcano because they lost money, right? Because they went to VaporCon without it. So kudos to them for pushing it back, for dealing with people, you know, kind of getting mad that they couldn't buy it, which is a little weird to hear. But, you know, people were getting very angry that they couldn't buy it. So kudos to them for fixing it or for retuning it, whatever, before they release it, as opposed to waiting till the second run or something like that.
All right. Good enough. All right. So we'll do a full segment on that next week. So for Vapelink, I'm Cozy Khan. Say goodbye, Basil.
Goodbye, Basil.
Say goodbye, Sense.
Goodbye, Sense.
And
I
we're
saw
out
you.
of here. Good night.
This is going to be a review of the SmokeTech telescope. I felt compelled to make a video now. I believe that there are safety issues with this. Let's get into the safety issues first. Vent through the threads here. I doubted that. That is airtight. Airtight. Nothing is venting. Final. End of story. I did it with a balloon.